Hi, everyone. It's Ravi, aka the Junior Explorer, and I'm here with a new company to the channel, Beyond Lithium. Now, before I introduce the team at Beyond and discuss their current activities, I wanted to share how this company got on my watch list of 100 lithium juniors. Beyond Lithium was first introduced to myself and a group of KRO subscribers in April this year by John Kaiser. The story was quite intriguing with the assembly of the largest greenfield lithium land position in Ontario. I was a bit skeptical in the beginning as I felt the company was a little too ambitious, and I felt I already had a lottery ticket with another junior that had Canada's largest grassroots lithium initiative. However, I kept a daily tab on Beyond Lithium and the progression and saw tremendous value when the stock got into the low 20s back in June. Based on the size of the portfolio, it was just too good to pass up, and even if it wasn't 100% sold on it. That gamble resulted in a 100% return in 3 weeks after cashing out. And I put Beyond on the needs a deeper dive list. Part of that research involved reaching out to the company, understand the projects, talk about the team, understand the current field program, and their approach to maximizing shareholder value. Although I've been watching them from afar the last few months, the stories evolved so much that I felt it was a company worth bringing onto the podcast. With that, I'd like to welcome Allan Frame and Lawrence Tsang of Beyond Lithium. Guys, my apologies for keeping you waiting. I hope I did not mind, you didn't mind me spending a few minutes on my journey with Beyond Lithium, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for interviewing.
Okay, good stuff. And so before we get into all of the exciting projects, I was hoping to go around the table and introduce each of the guests to the audience. Each of you bring a unique set of skills and experience, and I'd like to start with you, Allan. You've been in the financial services industry for 47 years and retired for a split second. What was it about this particular venture and the idea of a lithium exploration company that was exciting enough to bring you out of a short-lived retirement?
Well, there were a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think the lithium space is going to be, pretty active, and I think we'll see lots of aggressive activity over the next couple of years. It seems to be one of those minerals that's in strong demand with basically electrifying the country and the world. So I think it's a good commodity to be involved in, number one. So, it was on my radar looking for lithium deals. And number two, I actually, when I was still a broker at Haywood, I did the IPO for this company. So I was familiar with the founders, and I met Victor Cantori through Elaine Lambert, whom I actually met in 1991. So I didn't have to learn anything about, the founders for the company. And then number three, when they asked me to join them, basically I said, well, as long as we can look somewhat uniquely different from all the rest of the pack. I like the share structure, I like the people, and I like the space. So those are the primary reasons. I could flesh that out a little more for you, but that's primary reasons why I got involved. I think if we're successful in the field, this company will have a lot of torque, beginning with 28 million shares. So it's pretty tight.
Okay. Now, in your career, you must have seen many bull markets and bear markets, and it's probably fair to say that some of my viewers may not have experienced a true exploration bull market. I'm of the belief that we're in the beginning stages of Lithium Mania 2.0, as coined by John Kaiser, and I believe that we'll see a commodities boom over the next 2 to 5 years. Are there any comparisons you can draw with lithium and its potential to something like the rare earth mania back in 2011, or even the diamond staking rush back in the early 2000s?
Oh yeah, no, I see a rush coming up here. It's starting to show up. For example, Quebec has already demonstrated what happens when you have a little bit of luck because land values there are quite high. It's expensive to get into that game in Quebec. And also, in North America, you've seen several different battery plants being basically sponsored by the government. So, if you've got all of these lithium battery plants in North America and very little North American supply, I think for North American explorers, successful explorers, it's going to be pretty sweet. So we're optimistic that we'll fit into that category, that our hard work and efforts will pay off with commercial commercial amounts of lithium. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped on it. I think for the next 10 years it's going to be good, but I see the next 2 years as being, kind of wild and woolly, where I think a lot more players will come in. Lithium price had a pretty good setback, but it looks like it's bottomed out, and I think it will improve, although it's still pretty attractive. So I think it's probably one of the best mining games to be involved in right now.
Awesome. Let's move over to Lawrence. He's the VP of Exploration for Beyond Lithium, with over 15 years of experience in the mining and metals industry. Can you briefly discuss how you came to join the Beyond Lithium team?
Yeah, for sure. Again, thanks for having me. I know Al for a long time, and then I'm still part of a company called Asco Resources, an exploration manager over there. That's where I met Al. Al has been supporting that company through different private placement of financing. So I was part of the company basically from grassroots exploration, early stage. We ran through different resources, feasibility study, permitting, and now going through development to operation. So I was able to be part of the team of Ascot, bringing a project from early stage to all the way to production. And having the experience chatting with Al, he got on to Beyond Lithium. And at that same amount of time, I was doing my own research and also helping a private company in looking at lithium as well. So things kind of lined up pretty well. I really enjoy, and my heart is in exploration. So knowing Al and with my kind of my interest into lithium space, so things align pretty well at the timing, my interest, the industry, the market. So that's why I agreed to join Beyond Lithium and to start this journey. And it has been really exciting and fun so far.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned you were involved with a private company evaluating lithium projects in Ontario. How valuable was that work evaluating these projects prior to joining? And do you feel it gives you an advantage over some of the other juniors who are unfamiliar with the lay of the land?
I would say so. At least give me that fundamental understanding of the different players in the area, different project that has that potential, or what type of work they are doing, and then knowing different prospectors or even people who are available to work in the field. I think that's also the one important thing for exploration company. And I see that's one of the challenges over the season. Can a exploration company find enough people to work in the field? So by having that edge to be involved in the industry earlier, sooner, allow me to know the different people who live in different areas, so that I was able to give them a call, and they know me well. So they were able to come and join us to help us for the 2023 exploration program for Beyond Lithium. So I see that's one of the edge, having knowing the people, knowing the ground, understanding who are the players in the area, really help Beyond to move forward so many projects in Ontario.
Okay. Having spent the past 2 to 4 months on the ground, how have you found the infrastructure and access to the projects?
Yes, I would say it's really good. Ontario has really good infrastructures, lots of highway, and especially a lot of logging roads. So that allow us to go to most of the sites. Some of the delay were actually caused by, unfortunately, the forest fires. Due to the lack of helicopters, most of the helicopter got summoned to help the forest fire. Some of the roads got restricted due to forest fire. So we trying to prospect most of them. Road access has been really great. It's only due to the natural factor that we cannot process some of them. But then in this meantime, we are able to, some of the roads are reopened, so we're getting the teams back to those area that we cannot go early in the season. So the access for most of our project, they are road accessible with good logging roads, close to towns. Some of them even next to Trans-Canada Railway. We have power lines to some of the site as well. So that really help some of the how we advance, how we can progress some of the projects.
Okay. And any surprises so far when it comes to lithium exploration versus other metals you've explored for?
I would say not surprised. As long as we I would say for Beyond Lithium, we have a good exploration model. We understand the lithium, the LCT pegmatite deposit model pretty well. So we apply that using in combination of the LIPS analyzer and the field data. We rely on the data, let the data to guide us how and which project do we move forward from phase 1 to phase 2, or potentially drilling throughout the seasons. Surprises, yeah, you do. We making new discoveries. So finding new targets. So those are the good surprises that we are getting this season.
Okay. So let's talk Ontario and what is the largest greenfield lithium land position in the province. And I want to kind of walk through a couple of quick highlights. Canada's only project generator dedicated to advancing a large portfolio of lithium properties in Ontario. Significant position in proximity to every major LCT pegmatite district in Ontario. 64 properties totaling over 150,000 hectares. Over 500 individual map pegmatites in the portfolio. 15 of the 64 properties have a total of 450 historical drill holes. Did I miss anything there, Allan?
No, I think you covered it pretty good. So we've got 64 different opportunities for success. So I think you nailed it.
Okay. And can you tell us why it was important for Beyond to look different than all of the other juniors in this space?
Well, to me, it's important. You have to have something unique about yourself when you're starting out. I mean, exploration properties are all grassroots initially, so you can't really start out, with the discovery until you get on the ground. So, in order for us to attract capital and stand out from the others, firstly, the share structure was really good. It was nice and tight. But we decided when we met the two prospectors that we've been working with since March. We were looking at their properties, and they're basically the ones that are on this map that we're looking at right now. And when we had a good look at them and understood all the methodology they'd used to select these particular areas, it wasn't because there were discoveries. It was all other reasons, which Lawrence could explain to you better than I. But for us, it was like sort of go big or go home. Like, what can we do initially? We had nothing but money, which is kind of a funny thing to say. But we bought all of these properties, thereby expanding the potential for discovery for all the shareholders fairly dramatically. You see a lot of these other companies, and there are many of them out there, and of course we wish them all success. But you've got 2 or 3 properties, so you're working those, and if they don't work, well, you're back to square one again. I am very, very optimistic that many of our properties, which we've already advanced into phase 2, which Lawrence can also speak about, will go into phase 3. So they're going to be bona fide properties with really above average chances of success. So we offer that to shareholders, a great share structure, 64 chances for success, and last but not least, a pretty darn good technical team led by Lawrence. He's not the only one. We've got Graham Evans and Paul Baxter, who have a ton of experience, and both Lawrence and myself have friendly relationships. They're friends of ours and have been for many, many years. So we've got what I think is the A team, tons of property and lots of chances.
Okay. So let's dive a bit deeper into some of these Ontario projects. You have 64 projects with over 500 pegmatites. Any reason why these particular projects up on the screen were kind of singled out in the recent MD&A?
I'll let Lawrence answer that one.
Yeah, so for example, like the Cosgrave or Gathering Lake, the last couple of press releases we talk about, like the Cosgrave Lake project, we're able to identify the new Pluton, basically in other words, a new source that we found that could potentially generate that LCT pegmatite deposit in the area. So we have that source of LCT pegmatites potential basically within our projects, and we have the striking that structure control that we could potentially find that lithium or spodumene pegmatites. So that's really excite us because we have over 11 kilometers striking over there. We already sent a crew there to do more prospecting. We already sampled additional 120 samples over in that area. So Cosgrave project was one of the projects that we're going to advance. Same thing as Gathering Lake. Gathering Lake South, we are in a good area that has known spodumene pegmatites found in the area. The area got a good understanding where the Pluton, basically the source of the pegmatites. We're able to locate the barrel pegmatites, which is so that we are in the right area. And from some of the elevated lithium muscovite samples from the Gathering Lake South, really encourage us to go back there. And then once we went back there, just last month, we were able to basically we mapped the whole area, showing that we have that local property-wise structural control that could host similar lithium pegmatite as well. So we're excited to go back there to prospect those. Case Lake area, basically next to Power Metals, those areas has been prospected. There's known spodumene around the area. We have the same or the similar structural control in the area that give us the edge to say, okay, we have a good chance of finding stuff. But those projects are the ones that we got restricted early in the season where we want to go there. Forest fire kind of restricted us to visit. So later basically this month, we are planning to go back there to see that. Wisa Lake, same thing. Next to the Wisa Lake spodumene lithium deposit area, used to owned by Greenfield Metals. So we are basically surround that, and we just flown a LiDAR survey. We are doing interpretation from the LiDAR survey, and which we plan to have crews down there in this month as well. So yeah, like the Eastern English River District is another interesting part. I would say it's underexplored, but you have that regional boundaries, provincial boundaries, basically that regional structures right next to Rock Edge company. They found spodumene as well. We are on the same trend. We just getting our results back, and then we are seeing encouraging results that we plan to talk about later on once we have the complete assays. So that's another really encouraging area that we're going to focus in. Same thing, Dryden, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I see another good prospect. We got the fertile Pluton, it's just north of our project. We have huge pegmatite fields in our property. So that's something we would like to go back and take a look in more details based on our geochem background that we could establish from this year. I think when we go back, we could really narrow down to small areas to really focus on finding the spodumene in all these projects.
Okay, and at the bottom of this list and onto the map of the right, we have the Hearst district. A well-known lithium junior drew blanks on its Hearst drill program and decided to suspend work there. Why does the Hearst area still remain prospective? And is this group still bullish in Ontario despite all the headlines going to the James Bay, Quebec area?
You want me to answer, Al, or you?
Yeah, you go ahead. You're doing good so far. Carry on.
Thanks. So I would say for us, yeah, like our Schofield, especially like I would say our Schofield project is still prospective. I would look at, yeah, you look at the area play, but when we understand the formational or the geological setting that requires to find LCD pegmatites, once we understand that, okay, if we have Plutons around or looking at some of the geochem data that's showing that elevated rubidium or cesium or tantalum, showing that you are in the right area, you're what we call you're more fractionated. I was basically, in other words, your rocks are altered when your pegmatites that have those LCT component in it. So that's why your host rock or your pegmatites have elevated rare elements. So that gives you the encouragement and to go back to revisit those projects. So to us, like the Schofield projects, I think is one of the projects we plan to go back. So despite how other companies how they work, I think for us to understand what we have, we know we putting our project in different tiers. And Al and I, we always talk about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So we're able to, from this year program, we're gonna have different tiers to know how we're gonna advance all our projects for next season or so.
Okay. Now, Lawrence, I'd like
another thing too, Ravi, in that the company that pulled out there, I mean, exploration is a tough game anyways. And it turned out that pegmatite they drilled was pretty small. Even if it had have been pregnant with good grade, it probably wouldn't have made the cut. And that's the name of the game in exploration. If it was just easy enough to spot lithium and drill a hole, we'd all be billionaires, but it's not the way it goes. So we're not discouraged by that disappointment. I'm sure the company that spent the money drilling is, but that's exploration. You just move on and go nail another one.
Okay, good stuff. So let's move on to the Canadian Shield, and this is for Lawrence, since he's on a roll. In talking with a number of people, the geological environment of the Canadian Shield is ripe for multiple world-class discoveries. What makes the Canadian Shield so favorable to host multiple world-class lithium deposits?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Thank you for the question. And I commonly see people like to kind of not just try to stop their geological boundary at the same as political boundary or the province boundary. So we all know that geology rocks, they extend from Quebec to Ontario. And if I just try to summarize kind of the 3 basic points of where we can find most of the LCT pegmatite deposit in the world, then that will really signify why both Quebec and Ontario's are both favorable province that could host and to explore for potential world-class lithium deposits. So number one, we look at the tectonic settings, and most LCT pegmatites, they were found and formed in orogenic settings, basically where continental plate converge or collide, and that's where you can find in both Quebec and Ontario. And secondly, almost all of the LCT pegmatite deposits have some sort of structural control. So they follow and form along pre-existing structures like fault, shear zones, and etc. And also even they could follow regional foliation like foliation or regional bedding orientation within metasedimentary rocks. And lastly, I would say the host rock will be important. They're mainly hosted in metamorphosed supercrustal rocks like metasedimentary and metavolcanic rocks. And if you look at these 3 basic criteria, the tectonic setting, we want to see they being hosted in orogenic settings, having that pre-existing structures. In Ontario, you have all these sub-province boundaries, which is good host orientation, and you have that strong foliation in your metasedimentary rock or metavolcanic rocks. Those are really preferential orientation for any potential LCT pegmatite formations. So that 2 boxes check. And lastly is the host rock. You have that, want to see having that fertile S-type Pluton or bathyly intruded into metasedimentary or metavolcanic rocks. So you can find that in Ontario too. So having all these thing checks, I see Ontario and people being what Al was commenting. Quebec, so many people working there. The cost of land to acquire has gone off the roof, and now Ontario, looking at the geological setting, just the basic. How do we find LCT pegmatite deposits? We do have the similar settings. So Ontario is as favorable as what people are doing over at James Bay and Quebec there.
Okay.
I see Ontario is a great place to work in to explore for LCT pegmatite deposits.
And does the geology of Western Australia, the hard rock lithium capital of the world, draw any comparisons to some or all of the Canadian Shield?
Well, similar. I would say the age-wise and some of the rock types are in general, like we won't go into detail. So because right now we are generalizing that how most of the LCD pegmatites deposit in the world, that's kind of follow those criteria. So yeah, very similar. Yeah.
Okay. And the James Bay region has yielded multiple world-class 100 million ton plus discoveries. There's the Patriot CV5, Alchem's James Bay project, and Winsome believes they have a pathway to 100 million plus tons. Why have we yet to find a world-class discovery in Ontario? Is there something in the water in James Bay? The geology would indicate the same potential lies in Ontario.
Well, I think part of the reason it is the fact that the exploration has been going on for a longer period of time in Quebec. There's been a lot more money plowed into Quebec because there are other facilities for producing there as well. So they definitely have a head start in Canada. I think my view, and Lawrence will have his own view too, but my view is that we just got a little catching up to do. But I think the potential for those types of deposits is very real in Ontario as well.
Yeah. So Ontario could be hosting the next Greenbushes of Corvid. So I'm looking forward to that there. So I'd like to get into kind of your approach on exploration. I think it's kind of unique because I don't really hear any other juniors talking about both a phase approach and kind of classifying and ranking those projects in a tiered system. So you're using a three-phase approach to help qualify each of the 64 projects. Can you quickly run us through the 3 different phases of exploration?
You want me to go? You can go ahead too. Yeah.
No, you go ahead, Lawrence. You're the one that designed it and created it, and you're the one that's operating it. You're the star.
Yeah, I'm sure I can briefly just go over that. So why we established this kind of a exploration model or project approach? We have lots of projects, and we want to, first of all, the phase 1, we say, okay, we have done over 4,000 hours of desktop study. Okay, looking at the regional data, what reports are around, what have people done around all of our projects. So by having desktop study, yeah, means something, but then make it more meaningful, we need to have boots on the ground. So we say, okay, let's have phase 1, but then how do we at the same time advance project quickly so that we can start looking at what do we really have. So phase 1 is basically saying, okay, have boots on the ground, collect like 30 to 50 samples each for each project, depends on the size of the project, and have a basic mapping, basic sampling just to cover the area so that we know, do we really have the right rock types? Do we really have that structure that could host it? Do we have that background geochem in elevated lithium, cesium, tantalum, etc. Elements to show that, hey, this is a prospective project. If we could find, okay, we have the right rock types, we have a source of Plutons, we have that structure controls, we also have elevated rare elements, then that take us to the second stage, where we would go back there to do more detailed mappings, which means we're going to narrow down to areas that have those elevated background numbers. We're going to do more detailed mapping, understanding what giving that elevated numbers. Could we see a trend there? Do we see a zonation there? Do we could we chase any dikes in certain strike lengths, and then look at the density of it? So that get us to the second stage where we can really evaluate. Okay, do we have a certain mass that could potentially host something there? So that's get us to phase 2. And once we get that, gone through that, and if we can find anything that has higher lithium value, more in the spodumene or and in the pedalite or something that shows high elevated really lithium to potential lithium economic grade, then will get us to phase 3, that we could plan on drilling shallow holes just to showcase that this is our exploration model. Is led by a scientific approach, led by data, let the data guide us how do we find the lithium bearing pegmatites, and then to drill a shallow hole to show the potential dip continuity and the strike continuity of those pegmatites. So that's why we created these 3 phases, and that will eventually categorize all 64 projects into 3 tiers. Tier 1, which are the ones that potentially next year we want to have a drill program. Tier 2, we don't have enough time this year to go back to do detail mapping, but we find those structures, right rocks, elevated numbers, we're going to go back there and work on. Tier 3, we say, okay, we may be lack of data. We haven't seen anything yet, but potentially we could, that could be something else we're going to evaluate over the winter. Yeah, so that kind of summarize what it means by phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you walking us through that. Now, before we get into some specific projects of interest, I'd like to tie up a few loose ends for myself. I did a lot of, reading news releases and going through the corporate presentation, watching pretty much every single video of Beyond Lithium that exists on the internet. The team has been able to get to 39 of the 64 projects. Are there still some areas in which getting on the project has been delayed due to Ontario wildfire access restriction?
A little bit, for sure. Some of them still are, but I think right now is a better season now. I think most of them are under better control for forest fire or the helicopter access. So that's why I was commenting earlier that we're going to have teams going back to like Case Lake or some other areas to start prospecting the remaining project as a phase 1. So phase 1 is been delayed due to forest fire is still continue. And I see we could get to a higher number for completion by the end of the season.
Okay. Over 160 mineral samples of muscovite or feldspar has been collected for LIBS analysis. How are these being used, and would these connect to any follow-up sampling in the future?
Yeah, so the LIBS analyzer, this is our first year using it, but then we tested on a few different properties, and it showed that it's been working. It shows you a good relative ratios or relative numbers of the projects showing where the hotter areas, and we like to use it as a almost a assistant for field decision making tools. Because to wait for your samples to go for the lab and then to decide what to do, it will extend your program for another 4-6 weeks. So having that, you can almost take the sample, muscovite, feldspar samples, prep it, sample it, and then analyze it. We can have it done in a day or 2. Then we can almost say in a day or 2, we say, hey, let's change the program because we are seeing a hotter area on certain projects. Then the field crew can just change the plan on a daily basis instead of have to wait for the assays before you go back to the hotter area. So I see the LIBS analyzer has been useful in that way. And then we are working on a more regional scale. Maybe we're gonna, by the end of the season, we are trying to work on a more correlation factors between the LIBS analyzer results to the lab result. If we could even get to that point, that would give us another edge saying that, okay, if the LIBS analyzer gives us a value of such, that means we are getting a closer range of lithium in of such samples. So that's something we're going to work through the winter. That's why we're collecting that many LIBS samples and grab samples.
Okay. Over 700 grab and channel samples have been collected and submitted to the lab for analysis. What have these samples revealed, and how are they being used in the next phase of the exploration?
Yeah, so kind of similar to the list, but that gives you a more absolute values of the samples. So we're plotting all our samples and assays up on all our projects, and in compilation of our field data like our lithology and mineralogy. So by looking at that, we could really see what we have for each project. For example, we could plot up different plots like KRB versus cesium plot or tantalum versus cesium plot as well. So different things that could help us to understand the fractionation trend of your project. Do we have that higher fractionated areas on our project that could guide us and narrow down which area of your project that we should focus on, basically narrow down where should we focus to explore.
Okay. And where are we on the logging of the assays of the historical drill holes?
Yep. So we so far we have logged it two projects of historical drill holes, and we just getting the assays back. So we are doing some compilation of that. There's one more hole for another project, but then we were talking to the rational geosatellite. The core there may not be in the best shape. Seem like a previous group may have kind of make the core not in a good shape. So right now we are doing compilation interpretation of the assays from the historical drill holes. And then because we also waiting for some surface assays to correlate with the assays from the historical drill holes before we want to announce it. We want to put out a more complete pictures of what things mean before we announce it.
Okay. And Beyond has over 500 individual map pegmatites in the portfolio. However, prior to the August 1st news release at Cosgrave Lake, there's been no mention of the 500 pegmatites being of LCT in nature. Is there data out there supporting the math that 1 to 2% of all pegmatites are LCT? And if so, is it safe to say that you could be sitting on more than one LCT pegmatite across 150,000 hectares worth of projects?
Well, that's the general way to look at it. I would say, yeah, from the desktop study, yeah, we looked at it. We say, oh, we have about 500 more than 500 mapped pegmatites on our project. But I would say even just on Cosgrave, from our phase 1, phase 2 program, we added another maybe over 100 pegmatites on one of the projects already. So I think by the end of the season, we haven't counted how many new pegmatites we have added to our portfolio. And to comment, yeah, we want to try LCD at the end. It's about finding that economic grade of LCT in the pegmatites, mainly for the lithium. So to say that, I say we're gonna wait for the assays to say how many pegmatites for Beyond gonna be. At the end, it will be economicals because that's always a threshold to say what's economical or not. And we have more than 500 now as the season go by. I haven't added up how many new pegmatites added to the portfolio. I think we could be even more than 1,000 now, right? Wow. Just on Beyond properties. So that's why we want to have boots on the ground. Yes, we want to check on the historically mapped one, but we are also finding new stuff, and that's why we able to discover the new Pluton at Cosgrave, a new trend over at Gathering Lake South. So we are excited to update people with more discovery about Beyond from now to the end of the season.
Okay, and the holy grail of lithium is spodumene. There's been mention of indicator minerals such as cesium, rubidium, beryl, and muscovite, but no mention of any confirmed spodumene crystals in any of the outcrops. Are you chasing whatever lithium comes your way, such as lepidolite or petalite, or is your ultimate goal to find large, coarse-grained spodumene crystals?
I would say both. Yeah, we are exploration company for lithium. Yeah, so lepidolite, those get lithium value as well. And if you look at understanding the fractionation trend of all these elements or minerals, it's just showing a deposit mineral zonation. So it goes from your typical to like biotime muscovite mica granite, and then you transition to more that beryl pegmatites, and then you start picking up more cesium, tantalum, and eventually get to your lepidolite, and then at the end you get to your lithium bearing spodumene. So by seeing Barrow showing the significance, you are in the right area, pointing yourself. This is the right direction you're moving to. Showing you are in the fertile Pluton area, in the right LCD pegmatites area that you could potentially find a spodumene. So we have so many projects, we have to systematically go through each of them, and to all of them scientifically plot up all the data to see what we have, and to narrow down to explore that potential spodumene or lepidolite, basically economic grade lithium pegmatites that we're looking for. Yeah.
So on August 1st, 2023, Beyond Lithium discovers new LCT pegmatite intrusive stock, also known as the fertile Pluton, at its Cosgrave Lake project. So it's named the Allan Graham AG Pluton in recognition of those who contributed to the discovery. I've heard of greenstone belts, amphibolites, batholites, but never a Pluton. What is the significance of the AG Pluton discovery, and can you explain how this fertile Pluton is important to in lithium and rare earth formation? Little map.
Yep, sure. Yep, that works. So yeah, I would say, in short, yeah, Pluton basically it evolved from the big batholith. So as it evolved, your incompatible elements going to be there. Basically, your lithium, cesium, tantalum, and then that's why you can see that Fractionation Trend, and that's what I kind of referred to in the previous slide, talking about the significance of the your barrel, your cesium, rubidium. So that's why it works when you plot up the different plots. As you move to the goal, to the most fractionated, the high fractionation area, where you could find your spodumene, your really high grade lithium, it would transition through from your Pluton. You get to you're gonna start seeing your barrel pegmatites, and then eventually, yeah, you're gonna see lepidolite and spodumene as you get into high fractionated area. So when we at Cosgrave able to locate that Pluton, we're able to find that the source of all this stuff, or the lithium pegmatites or the barrel pegmatites. So having that, now we know we are in the right area. We are not just at a project that we don't know where the source is and just hope that, okay, somewhere some of our neighbors found spodumene, hope that we are in the right area. They hope that we have some spodumene on our ground or some pegmatites on our ground. But no, for Cosgrave Lake, we know the source is on our ground. We have the structures. So as long as it's follow the structures, follow our exploration model, we should be able to start seeing that transition to your barrel, and then eventually to your lithium bearing pegmatites. So now at Cosgrave, we already established where is the Pluton, and also we have established where is the barrel zones. So now it's a matter of time to find the last couple of zones within the projects.
Okay. Are there any comparisons you can draw to the Tanko fertile Pluton located at Burney Lake, Manitoba?
I would say we were looking at some of the ratio, like their basically the source of the Tanko Pluton is basically we have comparable rare elements grade to the Pluton. So that shows you you need that size to generate that volatile fluid to create your pegmatites. So to see that we have that similar comparable Pluton values with the Tankos, give us that confidence saying, okay, this Pluton has some strength to it, in short, some strength to it that it could generate significant amount of pegmatites in the area. And that's why when we had started doing our phase 2 program, we quickly mapped this 70 plus new pegmatites on our ground. So that's give us the showing that, okay, by systematically, scientifically doing exploration, it works. So by finding the Pluton, narrowed down to that area right away, we able to find 70 plus new pegmatites on our ground.
Yeah, well, the way things are shaking up at Cosgrave, I'm gonna kind of make a declaration, say this might very well end up being a flagship project for you guys there. So let's move on to Gathering Lake. So August 24th, Beyond Lithium finds 3 barrel-bearing pegmatites with elevated lithium muscovite samples. Some assays from the sample shows up to 2,075 ppm lithium, 50 new pegmatites mapped, 3 new barrel pegmatites discovered. What has the work at Gathering Lake revealed, and what is the significance of the barrel bearing pegmatite discovery?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the previous models. So having that barrel pegmatites and understanding that the Ghost Lake batholith at that northeast region, basically Cosgrave was in the southeast region compared to where we are now. At the northeast region, that Ghost Lake batholith is highly fractionated, and then most likely related to as the source of the proximal to our Gathering Lake South, those 2 spodumene showings in the area. And then once we're able to locate our barrel pegmatites on our ground, we're able to outline those structures, those east-west structures of your sediments with the batholith. And those are that pre-existing structure that we talked about earlier, and that could host the LCP pegmatites. And that's why we are excited to see that. We have the barrel showing our sample, showing that fractionation trend along that direction as well. So give us that exploration targets that we're going to follow up in when we have the crew available to go there.
Okay. And we'll quickly move over to Wisa Lake. This is a property that kind of covers the large surrounding Green Technologies metal project. They've had some spodumene bearing pegmatites that have yielded grab samples up to 6.38% Li2O. You've received the final LiDAR survey. It sounds like you guys still have a little bit of work to do before you can kind of take it to the next step.
We would like to review the LiDAR survey so that we could make our kind of phase 1 of boots on the ground more efficient. If we can able to utilize this LiDAR survey to really outline areas that are obvious, that stands out, because when we are in the field, the pegmatites, even when we look at other people's pegmatites, when we talk to neighbors, yeah, all of them, they are resistant to erosion. They are the higher features. So the LiDAR survey would really just light up those high features on our map really easily, and we want to outline those before having the guys to go there. So basically, give them the targets to visit instead of asking them just to go there to walk around. So that's what we are trying to do. That's why we are interpreting that LiDAR survey. Want to outline those higher features for the crew to visit and samples as soon as they get to the project.
Okay, so let's talk what's next and next steps there. I'm assuming most of the field work and prospect will be wrapped up probably in the next month or 2. Do you have kind of an official date or kind of timeline where the field program wraps up?
I think Al is really good with money, and I keep asking him about the treasury side, and then he's still telling me, oh, we are still at on budget, on schedule. So we're gonna try to extend it as long as we can until the snow flies. That we can see the outcrop. We cannot do that prospective mapping anymore. But then, we are internally discussing, okay, do we have any phase 3 targets? And I think we are working on it, and then that's considering some smaller drill holes target we're going to try. So that's something we are discussing internally, and then hopefully we can make up that decision soon to just move ahead with that program.
Okay, so it sounds like between now and mid or end of October, there's going to be a lot of news or updates, I guess, based on field work, potential drill programs, and maybe some work that'll happen in the beginning of next year. Sounds like there could be some drill targets that are worthy of taking a closer look. if you were to find something that was worthy of drilling, how early could that drill campaign start? Is that something that's could happen this year? Is that something that would be better served beginning of next year?
I think both. I think if we could really decide on that internally, seeing that target is has that potential that we want to drill, I think we can go through that exploration plan to apply for basically a smaller drills. Basically, it can only drill 30-50 meters, but at least it's going to show a little bit of continuity and in deep length and strike length for those some of the pegmatites. So that's what we can do before the end of this season. And then over the season, we can actually apply for the proper exploration permit where we can bring in like a bigger diamond drills to really drill deeper holes, like 100, 200 meters hole, to really see how big or the potential of some of the projects.
Okay, so a couple last questions here. Lawrence, this one's for you. If a pegmatite is not LCT, then what are the chances they are NYF from a percentage, if you had anything like that?
No, I would say they all have some type of LCT values in it, right? It's just, do we have that elevated part or fractionation trend within your project to see that you can get to the end part of that model where you have that potential economic grade of lithium grade in your pegmatites. So that's what we're looking for. So yeah, most of the pegmatites got some background LCT values, but we want to see that trend in elevation of your lithium, cesium, tantalum, rubidium, etc., that could guide you to the point where you could potentially get your lapidolite spodumene pegmatites. That's where you could potentially find that economic grade and eventually to get that economic deposit that you can drill. So that's what we're working on, and that's our goal of our exploration program.
Okay, and this is more of a comment to my audience and some food for thought. So at some point, rare earths are going to be back in favor. The smart companies will also be looking at this potential as well. So if it's not an LCT pegmatite, there's a possibility there could be a rare earth pegmatite. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of things going into whether it's economic, but just some food for thought. So Allan, I'm going to swing it over to you and would love to kind of hear your perspective or comment. Why are Canadian investors asleep at the wheel when it comes to lithium investing? It seems like our Australian friends kind of get it, but it seems like we're still trying to figure it out here in Canada.
Well, I think it's not just the lithium sector. The whole market has been pretty weak for the last few months. It seems like all the focus is on interest rates and where are we going to peak and the US dollar and all the rest of this. And it's really taken away a lot of sector focus. If you're not in AI right now, you're not even in the market. You can see the volumes are quite slow, and it's been an extraordinarily slow summer. So I don't think it's just the lithium markets that are suffering. I think it's most metals markets. It's difficult to raise capital right now, although it shouldn't be. We've got tremendous government incentives for flow-through, for example, for battery metals and things. But it's just one of those phases to me. I mean, I've seen a million of them. This one will pass too. But I don't think it's specific to the lithium industry at all. And I also, these businesses are always driven by discovery. So if somebody did hit a big discovery, things change in a dime. Suddenly it's in vogue. Everybody has to have a lithium stock, and it's game on again. So it's just the way it ebbs and flows in the business. In my view, that's all. I'm not the least bit concerned about it being a situation that's going to last for a long period of time. But they do ebb and flow. That's just the nature of the beast.
Okay, and I think you answered my next question, which is what's going to take to get Lithium Mania 2.0 kicked into gear. So I think it's going to take one or two big discoveries. Last question: at what point do we start seeing Canadian institutions wanting a piece of the lithium investment?
Well, and I don't see it yet. I mean, Canada and the other institutions in North America are sort of cautious. It used to be you'd have a discovery and some institution would back you and some big company would buy you out. That was the name of the game. Well, it doesn't work that way anymore. It's like you drill, explore, de-risk, all the rest of that. But I think within the next 2 years, maybe not in 2024, but in 2025, I think they'll see they have to be positioned. And I would expect them to be, full bore into the lithium industry, investing in companies that are successful. And we certainly hope to be one of them.
Okay. And you mentioned kind of a short window, maybe 2 to 3 years. How will Beyond Lithium try and capitalize within this time frame? I'm assuming there's kind of an end game of where you want to kind of see this company get to.
Yes, there is. So, I've been involved in exploration and I've been involved in development. And I can tell you, development is a long, long, lonely game and extremely capital intensive. I like to explore. In my entire life, my career, I like to explore. I don't like watching them build mines. Drives me nuts. It's 10 years out of your life. Lawrence is an explorer. Graham's an explorer. Paul's an explorer. So I think the drift here is we're probably not going to be the company to develop a mine in Ontario, but we certainly want to be one that sells our company to somebody that does want to develop a mine, through the potential discovered on our property. So I think there's your story. We'd like to build up enough assets, enough shareholder value to be able to move this to a company that's in the business of developing. It's a totally different skill set. There's like nothing similar at all. And you get all the engineers in there building your mine, the exploration becomes, not even secondary. It's way, way down the ladder. And guys like me and Lawrence and our team, we like to explore.
Okay. So before I wrap up, were there any upcoming events, catalysts, or final thoughts you wanted to share with the audience?
If we told them to, we'd probably have to kill you. So I guess not.
Okay. So let's get to the 9 reasons to like Beyond, and here's why I like Beyond and why it's now the newest addition to my top 5 lithium juniors. So number 1, management, well-rounded group with experience in all facets of the business, super strong technical team. The management puts their money where their mouth is. Insiders, directors, advisors, co-founders own almost 54% of the shares. Projects, again, largest Ontario lithium portfolio in Canada, significant position in every major LCT pegmatite district in Ontario, massive portfolio, massive land package, over 500 individual map pegmatites. Who knows, by the end of this, we might see 1,000 at the end of the year. They got boots on the ground. They're actually doing work, compiling data, delivering results. In my opinion, it's not a company that's just sitting back hoping someone else makes a discovery and monetizing from there. And then as we move into kind of the share structure, good share structure, good volume, working capital. Again, 28 million shares. The volume is very good. There's about 154,000 shares traded on a daily basis, so there is some liquidity there. They are cashed up, and if they do need to raise money, they can do that with minimal dilution. As of June 30th, they had about $1 million plus dollars in working capital. Again, fully funded for exploration in 2023, and again, low market cap, sub 10 million. The upside could be explosive if they find 1 or 2 large discoveries. And then I really like kind of the approach on the exploration with the phase approach, as well as classifying and kind of putting into tier buckets. And from there, they can kind of sort through, prioritize. And if they decide at some point they want to vend out the stuff that isn't a priority, that they want to, have someone will take that on, then they do have that ability to do so. And then when we talk kind of marketing, and what I mean here is the team does a really good job of keeping the shareholders informed. A lot of great little videos of providing updates. They're active with company interviews, company websites updated, corporate presentation is regularly updated, and they're releasing news on a regular basis. And I suspect we'll see more of that throughout the remainder of the year. And then as I move into, jurisdiction, it's in one of the best mining jurisdictions in the world. I believe Canada will become a lithium powerhouse in the coming years with multiple discoveries across the country. So you can try to check the box there. And there's a big push for renewables. Governments is committed to green energy. The provincial and federal governments are pledging financial support to help these lithium developers and all these OEM battery makers kind of push through with their plants. We're starting to see strategic investments from large mining companies such as Rio Tinto, Albemarle. At some point, these guys are going to want to acquire some of these projects. So they've realized they need to get in here early. And then we got big names on the manufacturing of vehicles, Ford, GM. We got some battery manufacturers, POSCO, and many more have been attracted to both Ontario and Quebec. And then, Allan just mentioned it, Endgame, they're committed to maximizing shareholder value. I don't get the impression they want to spend the next 20 years trying to drag out a project to squeeze out an extra dime. These guys want to make multiple discoveries and monetize these projects as soon as possible. And, they're in it to win it. And then lastly, kind of the best analogy, my preference is towards juniors with multiple projects rather than relying on a single asset, or large portfolio. These land packages increase the odds of discovery. You can kind of look at it this way. They have 64 projects, so it's like having 64, lottery tickets. And if you kind of do the math based on the number of pegmatites on the projects, there's the possibility of having 9 or more discoveries. Sounds like they might have more. So when you kind of combine the two, the possibilities are endless. I could have, multiple winning numbers, multiple jackpots, and I very well may have found my Lotto 649 ticket with Beyond Lithium. So as a side note, I'm actually back to being a Beyond shareholder. So this time around, I'm hoping it's for much longer than 3 weeks. So, well, Allan and Lawrence, I want to thank you for taking the time to update my followers on Beyond's projects. And I look forward to upcoming company updates. I'm sure this is not the last we hear of Beyond. And for those that are following Lithium Mania 2.0, we're just getting started. I believe in the next 6 to 18 months, it's going to be very exciting. So, guys, I hope we can do this again. And this is the Junior Explorer signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.